seeking answers for Western Massachusetts. This is Western Mass News.
It's been a violent past couple months in the Bay State with multiple murders making headlines. Thanks everyone for joining us on this Friday and welcome to Western Mass News at 6. I'm Chris Pisano.
And I'm Mary Wilson. Some of them seem to share a common thread. The suspect suffered from mental health issues.
Western Mass News reporter Paris Dunford is digging deeper into this issue. She joins us now live in studio with more. Paris?
Chris, Mary, since the beginning of last month, there have been 3 tragedies involving parents killing their children and husbands killing their wives. All 3 people accused of murder had some underlying mental health condition. One local legislator hopes a mental health bill they passed last year might help prevent cases like these in the future. Massachusetts started 2023 off on a violent foot, with tragedies that have shocked Bay State residents to their core. Brian Walsh accused of murdering his wife and disposing of her body in the beginning of January. Then Lindsay Clancy charged with killing all 3 of her own children January 24th. Lastly, just this past Wednesday, the Robinson family was found shot dead in their home. Andrew Robinson accused of shooting his wife and son before turning the gun on himself. With all 3 of these cases, the alleged murderer was found to have some kind of mental health background. Walsh's psychiatrist is quoted saying Walsh's anxiety and depression left him unable to function. Clancy had just checked out of a psychiatric hospital because she was suffering from postpartum psychosis. And with the Robinson case, police reminded people to reach out for mental health help since Andrew Robinson's death was determined to be a suicide. State Senator John Velas tells Western Mass News these cases are moving forward the conversation about mental health in the Senate.
What went wrong? Why was Lindsay Clancy allowed to leave that facility? Are there enough supports in place when someone raises their hand and says, I need the help that I need?
Just this past August, legislators passed a mental health bill in the Bay State aimed at providing more resources for those who need them. One big change requiring insurance companies to pay for a yearly mental health checkup, just like they do for a yearly physical.
The obvious thought process behind there is that if you catch someone and somebody goes to the doctor for a mental health checkup, chances are they're going to want to talk to somebody. And chances are that that provider is going to be able to put them in the right direction of getting treatment.
Senator Velas hopes efforts like these prevent future criminal cases like these recent 3. However, there's also some hope it will help the victims of crimes who maybe suffer from mental health themselves.
There tends to be this association that people with issues around mental health are more likely to commit crime, which is not actually the case. They're actually more likely to be victims of crime.
And that mental health bill Senator Velas discussed is now a law currently in effect. So if you would like to have a mental health checkup, you can call your local provider and your insurance is required to pay for it. Reporting live in studio, Paris Dunford for Western Mass News.